All right, our next case this morning here is People of the State of Michigan versus Tamika Unique Erickson. Allocution, Mr. Harrison.
I'm noticing as well, as you can see, Miss Erickson's demeanor here today, and my conversations with her lately have been centered around this issue. She's scared. She's scared that this will be a situation that she could have had a lot worse outcome. It could have had a lot worse situation moving into the future. So I use the word scared, and maybe that has some negative connotations, but I meant it in a positive way because sometimes the thing that you worry about with someone who lives with addiction, as Miss Erickson does, is what's it going to take? What's it going to take to get them to stop and think and make some lifestyle determinations that don't simply allow her to fall back on her old ways of doing things. I'm pretty impressed with her demeanor and her outlook. She's done a couple of things. She's made tons of inquiries with regard to getting into some kind of treatment that the way she describes it would be irrespective of whether the court or probation or anybody thinks it's a good idea. It's something she wants to do for herself because she's taken that step to say, I need to make a change and I need to do it now because while I'm a young person now, I won't be in a couple of years. And I'll really regret it if I don't take this opportunity to make that change. She's also gotten in touch with, maybe for the first time, the Native American community that while she knew she had Native American heritage, she did not have contact with that part of her lineage. And she's found that to be a positive opportunity as well. As the court is well aware, that particular community has devoted significant resources to things like interaction and rehab. I hate to use the word in this context, but I will. Her attitude, Your Honor, has done a 360 as far as she was still wallowing in a bunch of negativity and sad, woe is me when she first got arrested and was put in jail. Recommendation seems a little bit unclear. I want to be clear that what I think an appropriate sentence here would be for the 84 days jail she's already served, and then a period of probation.
Wasn't she? Hadn't she just gotten off of probation?
Yeah.
5 months before on another file, and she'd gotten caught her first time when she was 17. Got 7411, completed that, went right back to alcohol shortly thereafter.
Yep.
Why did she not get a hold of her heritage roots after that?
I don't know. And it's a good, I suppose it's a good question because it is probative of what her state of mind was at that point in time. How I can't speak to that, Your Honor. Maybe if she chooses to address it, maybe she can. It's like on a cartoon where a character gets bonked in the head and loses his memory, then it gets bonked on the head and it comes back. That's not how the real world works. But I think it's a telling analogy for what likely occurred in Ms. Erickson's outlook here.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Erickson is now convicted of 4 felonies. So I imagine if she were to pick up a similar offense in the future, looking at prison, not a chance of probation. She now has 3 felonies in this case, 3 felony convictions, and in the circumstances that led up to those convictions are that she let her addiction take control of her life, and that put her in a place where she was allowing drug dealers to deal out of her home. Because I believe this may be her last chance to avoid prison and or death. In this case, I would ask the court to sentence her to the time she already served, but I would ask the court to set her on probation for 3 years.
All right, Ms. Erickson, it's your chance to make the statement if you choose to do so. Is there anything you wish to say at this time?
I was very young in the beginning of catching all this stuff, and I have changed. And I do want it actually this time I know I fell off pretty soon from just getting off probation, but I was way in over my head, and I know that's more excuses, but I do feel different about everything this time, for sure.
Well, I noticed something here in the old PSI. This is a problem, and I'm not a fan of the Department of Corrections when they merely attach a PSI because often from another file, because they often don't update it. And if there's errors in the first one, there continues to be the errors in the second one. And so when I look at the first one back in Grand Traverse, there's gaps of questions that I would have. For instance, on its CFJ 284, page 8, it talks about several medical health issues, and it shows a beginning date. It says, this doesn't make any sense. This really bothers me when I read these from the Department of Corrections. Look where it says health problem, then it says medication, which is all blank. Then it looks for treatment, it just says medication. Are you on this medication?
I can't say, I don't remember what I was on back then, but I am on medication now.
Okay,
I am getting it from the jail currently.
okay. Were you getting it before you went into the jail?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I took myself off.
All right. That's kind of an important thing where the person who prepared the PSI should have let me know that she stopped taking it. She only takes it when she's in jail. And who was dealing drugs from the home?
A 15-year-old minor and myself.
What about Malone?
I have no clue who that is. I'm trying to figure that out still.
It says the Traverse Narcotics team was doing controlled buys of fentanyl and crack cocaine from you and Mr. Malone. You don't know Mr. Malone, but you're doing deals with him?
I don't know their real names, sir.
What were you doing? It says here you guys were dealing fentanyl and crack cocaine.
Yes, they were staying at my house, but I don't know them by their first names. They never told me their real names at all.
How long were they staying there with you at your house?
They would stay for a week or two at a time.
So how long was that going on? If it was for a week or two at a time, was that over the 6 months that you lived there?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And were you renting that home?
I was renting a room.
Was anybody else living in that house with you?
Yes, my aunt.
Okay. This 15-year-old that was staying there with you.
Yes, he was from Muskegon.
Oh, now we're catching it. The drug dealers from Muskegon. 1 container of 0.5 gram of crack cocaine, a scale with residue, another bag of 0.5 gram of cocaine, some red and white paper with 1.5 grams of cocaine, a crack pipe, a cellophane wrapping with 0.5 gram of cocaine, another one that had 17 grams of crack cocaine, and there was heroin and fentanyl. And then there were pistols. There's a 22 pistol, a 22 pistol, a 22 rifle, and a shotgun. That was found in a different bedroom. Is that
Yes,
right?
Your Honor. Those are my aunts and my uncles.
Okay. And you decided to hide 3 grams of cocaine in a body cavity. I'm sorry, not cocaine, heroin and fentanyl. What made you do that?
It was a normal reaction, to be honest.
Okay. First Nation heritage here. Have you ever had contact with reservations and programs available there?
No, we had just finished our family tree of that. So
Okay.
that was something I was starting to look into.
All right. Well, the reason she's not looking here at a higher level, because the second subsequent was dismissed, the possession of methamphetamine was dismissed. We take a bit of an issue sometimes when the prosecutors come in and ask for hire this or hire that, when they're the ones who cut the deal the way they did. And that's all right, that's their choice. But this was a big drug bust up in Neeson. And they're telling me they think 84 days of time served is appropriate, and I strongly disagree. You're basically a drug dealer. You are using this house, and I don't know why your aunt and uncle are here. Maybe they've got a case coming up, but this is a drug dealer case. The guidelines are insufficient. And I'll also tell you this, I have this problem. I've been debating this a little bit. How often do I go and do everybody else's job? Why is there no offense variable 19 when she was trying to hide the stuff in her body? How come there aren't other charges on scorings underneath OV 12 or 13 for possession with?
The matter before the court was a sentencing of Tyka Unique Erickson in the people of the state of Michigan versus Tyka Unique Erickson. Defense counsel addressed the court first, beginning by noting the defendant's visible demeanor in the courtroom and explaining that his recent conversations with her had centered on a single theme. She was scared. He clarified that he meant this in a positive sense, because with someone who lives with addiction, fear can sometimes be the catalyst that finally drives real change. He said the concern with people who struggle with addiction is always the question of what it is going to take to make them stop, think, and make meaningful decisions about how they live. He described being genuinely impressed with Erickson's attitude and outlook going into sentencing. Defense counsel outlined 2 specific things Erickson had done that gave him reason for optimism. First, she had made extensive inquiries into getting herself into a treatment program, and the way she described it was that she wanted to pursue treatment regardless of whether court, probation, or anyone else thought it was a good idea. She had come to this on her own terms, telling counsel that she needed to make a change now while she was still young, because she knew she would deeply regret it if she let the opportunity pass. Second, she had made contact for what counsel described as possibly the first time with the Native American community. While Erickson had known she had Native American heritage, she had not previously been connected with that part of her background. She had recently begun to explore that lineage and found it to be a positive development, and counsel noted that the Native American community had devoted significant resources to programs focused on intervention and rehabilitation. The judge asked a pointed question at this point, noting that Erickson had only recently come off probation on another file, approximately 5 months earlier, and had gotten caught for the first time when she was 17. The judge asked why she had not sought out her heritage and those resources after that first encounter with the criminal justice system. Defense counsel acknowledged it was a fair and probative question about her state of mind at that time, but said he could not speak to it directly and suggested the defendant might address it herself if she chose to speak. Defense counsel concluded his remarks by making clear what he believed an appropriate sentence would be. He noted that Erickson was now convicted of 4 felonies, that this case alone carried 3 felony convictions, and that the circumstances leading to those convictions involve her allowing her addiction to take control of her life, to the point where she was letting drug dealers operate out of her home. He acknowledged that if she were to pick up a similar offense in the future, she would almost certainly be looking at prison with no chance of probation. He described the current proceeding as what he believed might be her last chance to avoid both prison and death. He asked the court to sentence her to the 84 days she had already served in jail and to place her on 3 years of probation. The judge then gave Erickson the opportunity to speak. She told the court that she had been very young when all of this began and that she had changed and genuinely wanted to do better this time. She acknowledged that she had fallen back into her old behavior very quickly after getting off probation, admitting she had been way over her head, but said she felt different about everything this time. The judge then began going through the pre-sentence investigation report and immediately identified problems with the document. He expressed frustration that the Department of Corrections had simply attached a PSI from another file rather than preparing a fresh and updated one, noting that errors in the original report carried over into subsequent ones without being corrected. He pointed to a section on page 8 of the report that listed health issues and medication, but left the relevant fields blank, which he said made no sense. He asked Erickson directly whether she was on medication, to which she responded that she was currently receiving medication through the jail. When asked whether she had been taking medication before her arrest, she said she had not, explaining that she had taken herself off it. The judge said this was an important piece of information that the PSI should have captured. The judge then moved to the details of the offense itself. He asked to have been dealing drugs in the home, and Erickson said it had been herself and a 15-year-old minor. When a judge asked about a person named Malone, who was referenced in the investigation, Erickson said she had no idea who that was. The judge noted that the Traverse Narcotics team had conducted controlled buys of fentanyl and crack cocaine from both Erickson and Malone, and pressed her on how she could claim not to know someone she had allegedly been doing deals with. Erickson explained that she did not know their real names because they had never told her. The judge asked how long they had been staying at her house, and she said they would stay for a week or two at a time over the approximately 6 months she had lived there. The judge confirmed she had been renting a room, that her aunt also lived in a house, and that the 15-year-old had been there as well, a teenager who the judge noted had come up from Muskegon. The judge then went through the items found during the search of the property in detail. One container with 0.5 gram of crack cocaine, a scale with residue, another bag with 0.5 gram of cocaine, red and white paper containing 1.5 grams of cocaine, a crack pipe, a cellophane wrapping with 0.5 gram of cocaine, another container with 17 grams of crack cocaine, and then heroin and fentanyl. In addition to the drugs, there were firearms found in a different bedroom, specifically a .22 caliber pistol, a .22 caliber rifle, and a shotgun. Erickson said these belonged to her aunt and uncle.